Welcome to the Woodpreneur Podcast, the best podcast for the business and marketing side of the sawmill, lumber, and wood industry. What's a woodpreneur? If you have a business where you make money as a woodworker, sawmill owner, selling slabs, or a content creator, then you're a woodpreneur. My name's Steve Larosiliere, and I started Woodpreneur Life, Acres of Timber, and the Woodpreneur Podcast just for makers, wood entrepreneurs, and small business owners just like you. We're on a mission to empower thousands of wood businesses to grow sustainably and put out great products. Each week, I interview makers, sawyers, content creators, and 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs that know the wood industry inside and out. With topics covering everything from the urban lumber movement, sustainable sourcing and design, we'll discuss the ins and outs of how to grow, monetize, and fully immerse yourself in the woodpreneur lifestyle. If you're a hobbyist, a full-time wood business owner, part-time entrepreneur who wants to become a content creator, or quit your day job to pursue your dreams, the Woodpreneur Podcast is just for you. Thanks so much for listening. Now enjoy this episode. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur Podcast. Your co-host Steve Larosiliere and
Jennifer Alger.
and today's guest is Seth and Filippo from Urban Lumber Company. Before we hopped on, I was just reminding Seth that he was episode 11 when this was just called the Sawmill Business Podcast. And we have over 400 episodes now, and it's just a long overdue conversation. So, Seth, what have you been up to the past 9 years?
Not much, just hanging out.
Just hanging out. I remember our conversation specifically because you're like, I started making skateboards. I wanted to make skateboards. And then now, like, I'm go to your website, you got 10 plus people, you've acquired businesses, like you've built this mini empire in the past 9 years. What, tell us how the business is today.
Yeah, I guess I've been doing a little more than just hanging out. Yeah, it's been a lot of growth over the last 9 years. It's kind of hard to remember. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago that we spoke, but a lot has happened, and we've gone through a pandemic and a bunch of other things. Yeah, the big thing for me was 5 years ago, I bought Urban Hardwoods up in Seattle and have been running shops for the last 5 years together, and it kind of doubled the size of my operation. And we actually have generally around 20 to 25 people working. So yeah, it's been a lot. I also started a tree service in there a couple of years ago as well. So running the 3 businesses and just tons of urban wood and creating tons of really great, beautiful product.
That's so great.
That sounds tired. It sounds like something I would do. Yeah. Taking on too much. Yeah. So what's, you went through the pandemic and you went through you started in 2006, right?
Yeah.
So you went through the economic downturn. You went through a couple of them, but one, of the Great Recession.
Yeah.
How did that feel? You had employees then, right?
I was pretty small in 2008. Yeah, I only had a few employees, and that's probably what kept me going because I was small and nimble enough and low enough overhead that I could really, do what I had to do to stay going. Right. So yeah, I've been through a few. The pandemic was interesting as well. I was much bigger at that time, and it was actually during the pandemic that I bought out the company in Seattle, which was just weird, crazy timing. I never saw that one coming, but it kind of all worked. And then, yeah, we're definitely feeling it right now too. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know if it's just because we're bigger than ever before, but I'm feeling this one as well.
Yeah.
Do you,
yeah.
Would you, well, hold on one second. Could you tell me what was the impetus to grow? Like, how did you keep the motivation to keep growing? Was that just by nature, or did you just see opportunities and just like, was that part of your plan when you started in 2006?
I guess so. Yeah. I always wanted to get to a point where I was building custom furniture. That was my passion. And I started just selling raw wood, but I always had a goal to grow to be a furniture manufacturer. And then from there, I think it's part of my personal nature. I think it's more of like, I say, I flirt with delusional. I don't know why I continue to take things on and think I can do it. I don't know. That's a great question. I question it all the time. I'm opportunistic and I'm an entrepreneur, and those things are ingrained in me. And so when I see an opportunity or something that I feel like, it almost feels as much of an obligation as an opportunity to take some of this stuff on because I feel like I'm the guy to do it. Regarding merging companies with Seattle, I always had admired that company from afar, and they were struggling, and I felt like it was something I knew, and I wanted to kind of like, not only grow for myself, but I wanted to see that company thrive as well. So I felt the opportunity and the obligation.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Did you back when you're saying that like the last year, would you say like when did you see it start to have struggles again?
Yeah, last year around this time we were slow, but we're always a little slower in the first quarter. It's kind of our slower season.
Yeah.
Summer is like the time we really get busy and get after it, and we do a lot of work in the commercial space for office spaces and restaurants and hotels and things. And a lot of that construction's happening in the summer, and it just didn't really happen last summer. And it was really weird because the interest rates were a little higher. It was an election year. There was things for sure, but it seemed like nobody could really quite put their finger on it.
Yeah, I've been doing this a while, and every election season, it doesn't matter who's elected, right before 4, 5, 6 months before, screeching halt. Everybody's afraid to let go of money. And as soon as it lets up, then you start to see people go, okay, this is our new reality. Love it, like it, hate it. It doesn't matter. They just go. Seth, did you feel like when COVID hit, I'm a small business owner. Steve, you're a small business owner. We have employees. When COVID hit, were you scared for your employees? Tell me what that felt like. Like, I know how I felt, and I'm just always curious. How did other people feel during that? You're responsible for all these families.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as a small business owner, our crew is like our family. And yeah, I feel like I have these 20 mouths to feed, 20 families to feed. And, I care about them just personally. And everybody was scared. There's so much uncertainty when it was first happening, and nobody knew how it was going to turn out. And I felt like everybody was looking to me, and I didn't have the answers either. Nobody did. And it was also hard because, like politically, it was such a dividing factor too. I mean, people had all their different beliefs. I mean, it affected like from their religious beliefs to their political beliefs, and managing that was a challenge because I have a big diverse crew. And so kind of bridging the gap between all those people was hard, and it was very scary. And things were also kind of screeching to a halt at that time, business wise. And I was like, oh no, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And in the end, again, we were nimble, and we were scrappy and gritty like we always are. And we did what we did to get through it, and opportunity came out of it, as we all know. Then there was sort of a boom surrounding it, and it turned out to be a great year, and everybody came back on, and, we stayed safe, and it was all good.
Good. Yes, so much weight on your shoulders.
Yeah. One of the challenges for me, I feel like I'm a problem solver, but that was a problem I had never encountered. Like nobody had. If a machine breaks, or if we need something, like I'm I'm logistics oriented. I can figure out how to make stuff happen, but that one was out of my wheelhouse.
Crazy.
What about how have you developed as a leader personally, professionally throughout the years?
Well, I've matured a ton for sure, as a leader. And that comes with experience and with age. I was 25 when I started, and now I'll be 45 this year. So, we all mature. Communication style is huge, and we mature in how we speak to people, and what our, letting our expectations be known and setting our boundaries. I mean, it's not just in work, it's in life too. Yeah, I've matured a ton there. And I think I've matured as I've grown the company to put good people in place and learn to delegate more and trust people to do what they do best, and try to step back a little bit and not try to control everything.
So hard.
It's hard. Yeah.
So hard. Yeah.
What's the bread and butter right now?
Well, it's interesting because as we're a little slower still with our commercial work, we're picking up more and more residential work. And that seems to be our bread and butter. They're smaller items for us, but they're also pretty fun. And we get to do real custom one-off pieces. So our bread and butter has always been like 6 to 10 foot dining tables. So single slabs or simple slab tops on, a modern steel base. Those are our bread and butter. We crank those things out. We make, good money on them. People love them. It's kind of our signature.
Very cool. What Like if you had to name, because I know you run a sawmill too, right? You've got a couple different sawmills.
4 of them.
Some beast, yeah, you've got some beast that I saw in your shop one time. I don't even know what that is, but you've got some really cool things. As a sawyer, what are some of the craziest things that you've seen come out of that? Like what have you opened up into?
So many crazy things. Yeah. I mean, working with urban logs, as you know, we hit all kinds of crazy foreign objects and tons of wire and nails and bullets and all kinds of things. We sawed an old vintage Hot Wheels car in half recently that somebody must have been playing with and stuck in a tree. But probably the weirdest, kind of creepiest one, and it actually has happened twice, was hitting bones inside of a tree. Yeah, and the last one was a lot of bones.
What kind of bones? I gotta know, what kind of bones? Were these human bones?
Outline that.
This.
I've been wanting to have them analyzed because we might solve a nerd mystery or something. Yeah, years ago we hit a bone that was up in a tree, and I assumed it was a vulture or a crow that had been chewing on something and left it there. But this other tree I'm talking about was inside the cavity of a walnut tree that had grown around it in a hollow. It was full of like pretty big bones.
Wow.
You still
Wow.
Yeah, we
have to
big
know.
bone. Yeah, this big.
That's an expensive table. That's an expensive table, though. I mean, like, put some epoxy on it.
So you tell the story, Seth. You know, with the urban wood, you tell the story a lot. Did the people that got those slabs, do they know that story? Or does they kind of go, I don't want to.
I don't think we tell that one specifically. I don't want to freak you out.
So now all your customers are wondering, am I the one that got the bone table?
Bone slabs. That's bone slabs. How are you feel? I mean, from a business perspective, I know that you said it's, a little slow, and nobody, business owners don't really like to talk about slow times, right? But like like going into, like, because right before you hopped on, Jennifer and I were just talking about the tariffs, right? And we were talking about, is it a good thing, or is it a bad thing, or is there an opportunity? We've kind of always look at things from a from a growth mindset, right? Like what's there to gain from this? Do you see that this is the moment that, 20 plus years ago that you saw, like, oh, this could be urban lumber's moment?
Yeah, I do. I like to think that way. I mean,
Okay,
kind of like
good.
Jennifer's regarding when she's talking about, the election year. Like, I'm not going to just roll over and say, well, this must be it for us. There's tariffs, so I'm just going to give up. I'd rather look at it like, this could be a real opportunity for us as a local manufacturer, as an American-made manufacturer to, speak to that and continue to tell our story. I mean, our story is what sells our product in our sourcing. And so I mean, more so than ever, this is a time for that. And I think, people always appreciate it. I think they'll especially appreciate it now if we don't have to pay extra for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I see as well. Just so much opportunity.
Yeah, we don't import much and we don't buy much because we produce so much in-house, but we do some things. And we felt it during the pandemic when there was supply chain issues a little bit, whether it's, we do a lot of tables with integrated data ports, and we have to buy steel for our steel bases. And so I'm sure we're going to feel it. And we're actually already seeing notes from a few of our vendors that their prices are going up. So it all just kind of goes down the line. It flows downhill. So we're going to feel it too. But yeah, I mean, our is uber local.
Yeah.
What-
Yeah. The wood, we can really control that and use that as an opportunity, but it's not going to be all gravy because there are going to be all those operating costs, all of those materials that we need to do the rest of it, the steel, those things that we're going to have to navigate through.
On a day-to-day level right now, like how are you spending your time? Like 25 people, can you just talk through your day-to-day? Like, who's your number two? Who's your, like, how does that necessarily work? Because I mean, there aren't too many people like you. Like, I can count on, my hand how many people in the urban lumber space are on your level. But like, I'd love to get an insight on like what does your sort of operations, and how are you spending your time as the founder?
Sure. That's a great question. I spend more and more of my time kind of overseeing and managing and doing what needs to be done and kind of putting out fires, I guess, and kind of stepping up um, almost as more of a support role to my key people, as well as kind of like working on big picture items, the direction for the company or some of the big financial decisions. But the nice thing is I've done it all, so I can speak the language. And I may be on a call today with an architect and we're talking, or a banker or something like that. And then later today, I'll grab a chainsaw and run out and buck some logs because it needs to happen to get the stuff on the sawmill. Or so yeah, my days are really varied and I love it. It's one of the best parts of my job because I live in all these different worlds. I can relate to the log truck driver just as well as I can the architect, and those two probably don't normally hang out or talk to each other, and their worlds are so far apart. And I love that I bridge some of those gaps. But yeah, some of my key people are huge. I've got a right hand and, business partner, a woman named Sherry, who's been with me for years and years. And she also wears a ton of hats and handles so much from sales and HR to financial stuff. I've got a great shop foreman here in Oregon and a great one in Seattle, a project manager. I mean, I've got some really key, awesome people that do such great work.
Great. Great.
Yeah. And more, I'm trying to also step back a little bit just for my own reasons. I've been doing this a long time. I'm trying to spend more time with my kids. I've sacrificed a ton of my time over the last 20 years. And so I'm trying to put these people in place and kind of build the business around that more so than it all having to revolve around me specifically, which has been the case in the past, so that I can think about my next moves.
Yeah. Yeah. You've been the bottleneck, right? And at the same time, you've been the enabler, right? Like it all happens because of you and with the support of your team. But to be able to empower other people, it's really incredible when you can build a space where people can be themselves and self-express themselves and learn new skills. That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really proud of it. And over the years, over 20 years, I've employed hundreds of people. And it's been fun to see a lot of those people move on to bigger and better things. Some of them I didn't want to go, but I'm also happy for them when they, start their own company or use the skills that I've helped teach them or give them the experience with to move on to other things. And so it's been cool. It's been a cool career to look back on, like specifically like a lot of young men who have come in and wanted to learn more about wood and woodworking and have taken that on to bigger and better things.
Yeah. So rewarding. So rewarding. What's the most exciting achievement in your career?
Oh boy, we get to do so much cool stuff. I mean, people come to us for the wildest, funnest projects. So it's hard to pick, but one that stands out for me is an opportunity we had to build all the tables and chairs at Crater Lake Lodge a handful of years back, which is Oregon's only national park. And it was just really cool to think about the people from all over the world that are going to come to appreciate the natural beauty of Oregon and then also sit in our chairs.
That's cool. So many people do the table side and you're doing the chairs. You're doing something that in my mind is a little tougher. Somebody they could literally collapse if that chair doesn't hold up, but it also has to look beautiful.
Yeah, there's a lot of work in a chair. I mean, it's hard because there's as much or more work in a chair as a gigantic table, but we can't charge them for a chair as a gigantic table.
I think that's why we don't see them as often.
Yeah. We don't do a ton, but this was a really cool chance for us. They wanted it to be local. They were interested in it having it be salvage wood. They kind of wanted to pay homage to, the chairs that were there, which were these really cool old stickly chairs. So that was a huge thing for me too, to replace the stickly chairs with the urban lumber chairs. It felt to me like I had made it in the furniture scene. It was like a brand in the same area that their brand was. And that's a super old, awesome company that, I was like, wow, we're on a level with them.
Yeah. What an honor.
Mm-hmm.
I love looking at your work. A lot of the commercial work, it almost feels like are architects and designers coming to you and saying, hey, this is our design, can you implement it? Or do you have a lot of flexibility? Because like I'm looking at some of it and it's like it's very uniquely design focused urban lumber. So it's like, can you talk about that? Like, is it your design or are you pitching them, or are they saying we want urban lumber, this is implement our design?
It happens all different ways. I'd say more often than not, they come to us with their design, and then we'll work alongside them to, if we can actually do that, or if the wood lends itself to that.
Mhm.
Oftentimes it's not really, it doesn't really lend itself well to the material we have. So we have to compromise or kind of work back and forth a little bit.
But they start with the inspiration.
A lot of times, yeah, that's how it happens most of the time. But some of the time, which is my favorite, is when they can say, what can you do? What do you do best? What do you suggest for this space? And we can get creative and do what we think will look good and perform well and what want to do. And those are the fun ones for me too.
Yeah. What a fun space.
Hmm.
That's really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the part of the podcast where you get to brainstorm and have any advice to like on anything that's coming up in your business. So it's just like almost like a mini mastermind. Is there anything in your business that you'd like an extra set of eyes and ears on, or something that you'd like advice, or just, something that we can workshop or brainstorm?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think lately I've been spending a lot of my time thinking about upping our marketing game. I think we do what we do really, really well, and we've been established. And I think we're one of the leaders within our space. We've got all this great wood, we've got great people, great tools, all this experience. But as you know, the way information travels is ever changing, and it's always different. And I feel like we're missing the boat a little bit there regarding how we're using social media and our website and just digital marketing and digital networking. We've had a bunch of brick and mortar retail locations in the past, and they definitely served their purpose, but I feel like that was a different time. And
Mhm.
so I'm kind of immersing myself in that world right now, and would love to hear any feedback or what's worked for other folks you've talked to there, and how to implement it.
Yeah, I mean, I look at your website and it is really good. Like your website is really, I mean, it's beautiful, beautifully designed. You are doing kind of everything right in terms of showing video on reels and having people tell like, like I'm looking at a video of somebody from your team just talk through a product. Like this is your say is you could probably go deeper with storytelling and leveraging, like doing more long form stuff. And as somebody that's been around this space for 20 plus years, I think that you would probably get more excitement out of your day to day if you can start being the master storyteller of the history, your team, the wood, the product, and almost like, I mean, you have people to shoot you. So like go out and like tell longer form, like 5, 10, 20 minute stories. And then you can then repurpose that into shorter form. But like I would say tell longer stories because um you remember back in the day where people said like, like you had to write blogs for social media, right? Like you had to write blogs for your website. You had to write blogs for your website. So now video has replaced the blog. And so again, you would get the benefit of search engine optimization by doing long form videos. So like, I don't know, like go out and make your next hire to have somebody film you for 2 days and make like a video a week and tell a story about like, I'm sure if you sat down and you wrote down 20 titles of stories that you would love to tell. And I mean, Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong. If there's anybody that's uniquely qualified to tell the urban lumber story, wouldn't it be Seth? Absolutely. Like you bring more credibility than a lot of
And
people.
your Instagram, you started coming out there a little bit more. I've noticed that, but you could almost do what Steve was saying, take those videos, make them longer. Obviously, you can't put them all on Insta that way, but pop them onto a YouTube channel and then you have them there. And maybe you're doing that now, but that longer story because you are one of the pioneers of really scaling an urban wood company. And so I think people really respect you and they want to hear what you have to say. So,
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that from both of you, and we are trying to do that, and I'm glad it shows. Um,
it does.
and I have a list, just like you said, Steve. I'm thinking the same thing. I've got a list of all the stories, and like I said earlier, our story is what sells our product, and the people behind it, and the
Yeah.
tools, and the technique, and all those things. And I think we've got great ways to film it, and I know our website looks great. I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around how to get it in front of more eyes, all the back end stuff that you don't see, and some of the, from the ads and
Yeah.
the SEO tools and things like that. And
Well,
so those are things.
And I would tell you that, like, if you tag things properly, you will get the traction from YouTube. Because I was just on your YouTube, like you don't, it's an underutilized channel for you, right? Like you're doing everything, but like you will benefit from people Google searching the same way, because YouTube is the number 2 search engine behind Google, right? And so that, to me, is like, I would put more effort into long form storytelling, because if you create a video that says how restaurants can build, urban lumber tables, which you've done many of, right? And your next order, you document the whole entire process. The architect that is searching for somebody to do that will land on your page. And if they go to YouTube and they see that, you will automatically win, because you got to think about who the demographic is. Somebody that's speccing out a big restaurant build is an architect, a junior architect, like, and they are spending a lot of time and energy looking for the right person. And if you are the person that tells better stories than anybody else, and you have the track record, you're going to win. Yeah. That's what I would do. Just put out more content on YouTube and make it super intentional. And I would document all of your builds. Just like bring in somebody, like hire a local person to just film you, and then hire an editor on Upwork to just edit the films. Just edit and just say, all right, take these long forms, make a 10-minute video, and then from there, clip them up and then put them as short form. Is that helpful?
Yeah, that's super helpful. Yeah, I appreciate that. And we love doing that. We always get good results. I think one of my challenges as the leader lately is trying to figure out like how to allocate the time and money for that and making it a priority, because there's always another fire to put out. And I have a great guy on staff who does our videos and editing, and he's amazing. But I also pull him off to do a million others.
Get him to just be like, hey, look, this is the story that I want to tell in March. I want to tell these 2 stories, and I want you to follow me. Like get a hot mic, and then just like have him follow you around. Like I'm gonna send you a video of this woman. I'm gonna send you this way, a volleyball coach in Northern California, and this woman has been growing so much strictly because she's got somebody following her around, and that's one of the things that I would do. Okay, last thing is tell everybody your website and your Instagram so they can follow your work.
Okay, great. Yeah, so got 2 companies. Urban Lumber Company is based in Oregon. That's Urban Lumber Co. on Instagram and social media, urbanlumber.co online. And then Urban Hardwoods on both social media and the web for the Seattle operation. Those are the 2. And yeah, we're definitely hitting the Instagram reels hard, and look for some new coming YouTube.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for your time. All right. Bye.
Yeah, great to talk to you guys. Thanks. Okay, bye.